Good morning, and welcome to the Unity of Reading Sunday celebration. It's Sunday, April 19th. Welcome. I'm Reverend Nancy Clark, spiritual leader of Unity of Reading. Today's daily word is understanding. I open myself to spiritual understanding. When I am frustrated by a personal or professional challenge, or feel unsafe or concerned about a situation or event, I seek greater understanding. When I try to understand, I open my heart. Maybe I just need to gather more information or request the advice of someone I trust. If I am in conflict with someone, I practice understanding by listening with a curious mind and a loving heart. I grow in spiritual understanding when I discern and heed my inner guidance. Beyond conscious thought, spiritual truth begins to illuminate my consciousness. As I release all that stands in the way of understanding and stand firm in the love that calls it forth, I am guided by my growing spiritual understanding. And from Psalm 119, verse 144, your decrees are righteous forever. Give me understanding that I may live. So we're a week after Easter, and of course, Easter was a story of resurrection. And we always have to remember that this is not a one-time miracle, but it's a story of our own ability to overcome, our own ability to rise above our worldly problems by a higher understanding, from a higher perspective and a higher consciousness. As the daily word was about understanding, it states how it's human nature that when we come to a problem, our first instinct is to look to the world for answers. We console other people, we search the internet furiously for answers. This is yielding to our own understanding. We are warned in the Bible not to yield to our own understanding. In Proverbs 3:5, it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Florence Scovel Shinn, a metaphysical writer and teacher, once wrote, if you don't like to use the word Lord, replace it with law. As many other things, God works through a set of spiritual laws. In the Unity book titled Living the Mystical Life Today, our author Jim Rosemergy reminds us that we cannot face a problem on the level that the problem was created. By searching outside for more information will bring us no suitable result. It may ease the problem or find a result at this time, but if we don't address it from a higher level of perception, a higher consciousness, a higher level of understanding, the problem will repeat itself in different aspects. We must rise above the problem and view it from a higher consciousness. As I'm home more with this quarantine, I really like to spend a lot more time in meditation and reading, and I love to listen to my Audible books. I have always been interested in research and science, especially when it relates to spirituality. And people that know me know that I always love to say, I love it when science shows evidence for the woo-woo. There's increasingly more research regarding spirituality and consciousness. I've just completed the Great Courses series of lectures called Philosophy of Mind, Brains, Consciousness, and Thinking Machines. It was written by or lectured by Patrick Grimm. And I love to hear when research has confirmed the teachings of Jesus and all the other great masters and what Unity really has been teaching for years. And that one thing is, our perceptions of reality and the worldview are most times filtered through our background beliefs. Basically, we see what we expect to see and search out those things which back up our underlying beliefs. Our perception of ourselves, of others, and of the world is what we believe it to be, not necessarily the way it is. Jesus warned us, judge not by appearances. The studies were interesting and very revealing in giving us understanding about our own decisions, our thinking patterns and behaviors, and the course goes into great detail in some areas, but I'm not going to go into that today. But one of the main things I wanted to hear in this course was what it was saying about consciousness. In Unity, we speak of consciousness frequently, either relating to or acting from our lower human ego consciousness or from our higher self, which we call Christ consciousness in Unity. One thing I did grasp was the explanation of consciousness he provided. Grimm defined consciousness as a personal realm of subjective experience. Grimm spent the entire last lecture on the different theories philosophers and research scientists identify as consciousness. However, every theory has some holes in it or something's missing. He spoke of this as a hard question that has not yet been answered. What brought a huge smile to my face was when the statement about the possibility of ever finding out about what consciousness really is. When researchers were asked if they believed that they would ever find the nature and the working of consciousness, a common answer is, well, we can hope for a miracle. We can hope for a miracle. Even our greatest scientists and researchers are saying we could hope for a miracle. Obviously, they have acknowledged that consciousness, that aspect of our life and ourselves, what we call God, is beyond any human understanding. Everyone acknowledges there is something greater than our human understanding, something incredibly powerful that we are a part of. That aspect is the spark of life itself. It is so mysterious that we will never really totally understand it. I provided a retreat presentation yesterday, and I presented the idea that one of the most important aspects of living a fulfilling, happy life is dependent on our belief about what this mysterious power is, which we call God. Another one of the great courses I'm listening to on Audible is The Spiritual Brain, Science and Religious Experience, and this was by Dr. Andrew Newberg. You may remember Dr. Newberg as a presenter in the movie What the Bleep. He is the director of research at Marna Brynd Institute or Center of Integrative Medicine at Thomas Jefferson Hospital. He's also a professor in the departments of emergency medicine and radiology at Thomas Jefferson Hospital. He teaches undergrad courses at the University of Pennsylvania. So he's a very proficient, learned guy and loves to do research. He's recently actively pursued neuroimaging research projects in the realm of religious and spiritual experience and the relationship among the brain, religion, and health. So Dr. Newberg's research has included analyzing brain scans of people in prayer, meditation, rituals, and various trance states. He's published numerous articles and chapters on brain function, brain imaging, and the study of religious and scientific or spiritual experiences. Some of the books that you may know that he co-authored were How God Changes Your Brain, Why God Won't Go Away, Brain Science and the Biology of Belief, Words Can Change Your Brain. And actually, he's written, or he has won lots of honors and awards for his research and writings. If this interests you, I would definitely recommend that you pick up one of his books. But relating back to the Audible courses, the first thing that really struck me was one of Dr. Newberg's lectures entitled, What is God Like? In 2006, Baylor University's Institute for Science, Study of Religious. In 2006, Baylor University's Institute for Studies of Religion published a result from their extensive study on religion and spirituality. They used more than 1,700 people participating in the study. Each of them answered nearly 400 questions about religion and spirituality. According to the results of the survey, the American public described 4 primary types of God: an authoritarian God, a critical God, a distant God, and a benevolent God. Baylor's research team noted that the complexity of human religious beliefs, among other things, it concluded that not only past religious beliefs and teachings, but gender, current income affect the way that we perceive God. I can't say that I was really surprised at the result, knowing the teachings of many of the religions, but I was very saddened by the results. Think about this. Over 3/4 of the people view God as an authoritarian, critical, and distant. Authoritarian in the dictionary is defined as relating to or favoring blind submission to authority, or favoring a concentration of power in a leader or an elite not constitutionally responsible to the people. Less than 1/4%, think about that, viewed God as benevolent. In other words, less than 1/4% of those surveyed saw God as goodwill. Taking those results and remembering that research shows substantial evidence our beliefs affect our perception and experience of reality, I question, how could one possibly have a loving relationship or trust a God that they believe to be distant, critical, and authoritarian. I believe in everyone's life the most important aspect and precursor to living a fulfilling and abundant life is an accurate belief in the nature of God. With that said, I want to ask you right now, what is your underlying belief about this higher power that we call God? There's a short publication of Unity titled Keys to the Kingdom, 5 Fundamental Truths. With this publication explains Unity's 5 principles. Of course, our first Unity principle is regarding the nature of God. We believe that God is absolute, good, and everywhere present. I agree with the statement made in this book, which is obviously backed up by the survey results, of how people view God, that many religions teach the absence of God, not the presence of God. They teach that God is aloof and distant, God being out there somewhere, deciding what prayers to answer and which ones to ignore, judging every action that we make. When I started my spiritual journey, my first priority was to learn about and understand God. This journey has yielded me incredible insight and continues to take me on a deeper understanding and relationship with God. But the first thing I had to release was my own belief that God was some kind of control freak and only wanted his way, and if I didn't do it God's way, I would be punished with a miserable experience in life and then probably spent eternity in hell. I first learned of God to be some type of energy. Since everything is made up of energy, vibrating at different rates of speed, this wasn't just an energy such as electricity, but the energy itself, which supported all of life. In him we live and we move and we have our being. If God was an energy that supported all life, in and around everything and everyone, then God certainly was not out there or aloof. God energy was a part of me, the part of me that animates my life, the part of me that will leave this physical body when I die. And this is what the Eastern religions describe as chi energy. I came to the realization that God is within me, always present. We know that we were created in the image and the likeness of God. We are God energy. The Spirit of God lives within each and every one of us. When we can really, really, really know this, truly know this, not just with our heads, but with our hearts and with every fiber of our being, then we can truly begin to know God and our relationship in this world. So we speak of understanding. The understanding we need to have first is the nature of God, and therefore the nature of who we really are. Jesus was a great teacher in regards to showing us the nature of God. Through the teachings of Jesus, we know that God behaves through laws, a set of spiritual laws. Our current knowledge of mental and spiritual laws, which not only are being researched through science, has given us great insight into the workings of the universe, even though there is still much, much more that we don't know, and maybe never will. But of what we do know of spiritual laws, we can understand how we can live in sync with those laws. But also, through the teachings of Jesus, we learned that relating to God is not just as a set of laws. Relating to God as laws is not enough. Laws can't touch the essence of what God is. God is life itself. God is infinite life of this universe that we can see manifested everywhere. The life you are living in this moment is God life. It can heal, it can restore, it can make all things new. God is substance. It's the substance and the essence of everything that everything comes from. God is the creator of all things. Therefore, that makes me and you co-creators with God. God is supreme intelligence. God's spirit is the potential of everything. God is the energy of love. God is not loving, but is love itself. This is probably the highest concept and the knowledge that we can have of God, that God is love. There are many more attributes of God which reveal themselves and that can be studied. More important than that, however, is we need to know that we can employ these in our own lives. There's nowhere that God's energy and God's laws are not ready to go to work when we need them. The simple but incredible truth that Unity teaches is that the same omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient God that created and reigns supreme over the entire universe is filling every void of space with substance and unifying everything visible with this invisible spirit. This God is the same personal God that implanted spirit life into you and into me. A God who is constantly with you and is very present and is a very present help in a time of need. Unity affirms that this same God who dispatches the affairs of this universe on an ongoing basis in a twinkling of an eye has all the time in the world for you, and that anything and everything that concerns you concerns God. We only need to learn to relate to God as this kind of presence, an indwelling God who rejoices in every joy and triumph we make, a God that is present, that also longs to sustain and help us in every way we need it, in our failures, our sorrows, and in our disappointments, a God that is just waiting to help, waiting for us to ask, and waiting for the answer. A major emphasis in unity is that this majestic God of all creation loves us, loves you personally and infinitely, and only asks for us to express that love in return. Where do we find God? God lives in your consciousness. God lives in my consciousness. If our mind is closed and we continue to believe that God is aloof, we won't find God anywhere. We need to open our minds and practice the loving presence of God. And at that time, we'll discover personally that God is indeed everywhere and is with me personally and with you personally. Remember that we can never, ever be separated from the presence, the power, the love, and the goodness of God, except in your own thoughts. Today I ask you to make a commitment to get to know this God that dwells inside of you and me and everyone, this God that is loving, that is giving, that is accepting, never, never judgmental, this God that is there for us always, every step of the way. Make a commitment to get to know this God in this way and see how greatly your life changes for the good. And so it is. I thank everyone for listening today. I wish you a blessed, great day, great week. Stay healthy, stay well. If you feel moved by this message or any of the Unity teachings, again, I ask you to donate to Unity of Reading, 4443 10th Avenue in Temple, Pennsylvania. And I also ask to send prayers and healing to all those, and a great big thank you to all those who have already donated. Thank you so much. Have a great day.